She has spent 5 iconic decades building an entertainment career as a singer, actress, talk show host, and author.
Marie Osmond spent much of her life under bright stage lights, smiling before millions of viewers while carrying burdens that few people could see. For decades, audiences knew her as a cheerful singer with a warm personality, the television star who seemed comfortable in front of any camera, and the entertainer who could effortlessly move between country music, pop, Broadway, daytime television, and live performances. Yet behind the public image was a woman who would eventually reveal that some of the most defining moments of her life happened far away from the spotlight. Her story is not simply one of fame. It is a story of resilience, survival, family, loss, faith, and a determination to keep moving forward despite extraordinary challenges. Marie Osmond was born Olive Marie Osmond on October 13, 1959, in Ogden, Utah. She arrived as the only daughter in a family that had already become known for its remarkable musical talent. By the time she was old enough to understand what performing meant, her older brothers had already begun attracting national attention. The Osmond family believed strongly in hard work, faith, and discipline. Music became more than a hobby. It became the family's livelihood. From a young age, Marie watched her brothers rehearse tirelessly, travel constantly, and dedicate themselves to entertaining audiences across America. Although she was surrounded by 8 older brothers, Marie often described her childhood as both exciting and demanding. Life inside the Osmond household revolved around schedules, rehearsals, television appearances, and constant travel. While many children spent afternoons playing with neighborhood friends, Marie was learning songs, practicing stage routines, and becoming comfortable in television studios. Childhood and professional life blended together almost seamlessly. Her first television appearances came when she was still very young. As America fell in love with the Osmond family's wholesome image, Marie slowly found her own place within that success. Unlike several of her brothers, whose music leaned toward pop, Marie developed an affection for country music. That decision would eventually distinguish her from the rest of the family and help establish her individual identity in the entertainment business. In 1973, she released Paper Roses, a country song that quickly became a major success. The single reached the top of the country music charts and introduced millions of listeners to Marie as more than simply Donny Osmond's little sister. At only 13 years old, she suddenly found herself competing with experienced country artists decades older than she was. Her youthful voice and sincere performances resonated with audiences, proving that she possessed genuine talent rather than simply benefiting from her famous family name. Success, however, came with enormous expectations. The entertainment industry of the 1970s demanded perfection from young performers. Television schedules were relentless. Recording sessions stretched late into the evening. Promotional appearances filled nearly every available day. Young stars were expected to appear energetic and grateful regardless of how exhausted they felt behind the scenes. Marie would later describe those years as some of the busiest of her life. Long workdays became routine. Memorizing scripts, recording music, rehearsing dance numbers, and participating in interviews left little room for an ordinary adolescence. While viewers watched polished television specials, few recognized the amount of preparation required before every broadcast. Despite the demanding schedule, another opportunity soon arrived that would make Marie one of the most recognizable faces in America. In 1976, ABC launched Donny and Marie, a variety show starring Marie alongside her younger brother, Donny Osmond. Their chemistry quickly became one of the program's greatest strengths. Donny's playful humor paired naturally with Marie's quick wit, creating a family-friendly show filled with comedy sketches, celebrity guests, musical performances, and elaborate production numbers. The series became a major success and introduced the siblings to an even larger audience. Week after week, viewers saw smiling faces, colorful costumes, and seemingly effortless performances. The program represented the wholesome entertainment many families enjoyed together during the decade. But years later, Marie explained that what audiences witnessed on television represented only a small part of reality. Behind every episode were demanding production schedules that placed enormous pressure on a teenage performer. She has spoken publicly about working extremely long hours while trying to keep up with rehearsals, wardrobe changes, and script memorization. Looking back, She acknowledged that those experiences taught her professionalism, but also exposed her to an industry that often judged young performers harshly. One of the most painful memories Marie has shared involved criticism of her appearance. Although she was already very slender as a teenager, she recalled that a television executive criticized her weight in deeply hurtful terms. The comments left a lasting emotional impact. Feeling responsible for success of production and fearful of disappointing those around her, Marie developed unhealthy eating habits in an attempt to become even thinner. Years later, she openly discussed how those experiences contributed to an eating disorder. She explained that she resorted to extreme dieting before television tapings because she believed that was what the industry expected of her. Looking back as an adult, she has emphasized how damaging those comments were, especially for a young girl still developing her confidence. Her willingness to speak publicly about those struggles has resonated with many people who experience similar pressures regarding body image. Rather than hiding that chapter of her life, Marie has used it to encourage healthier conversations about self-worth and unrealistic expectations placed upon young performers. Yet the challenges she faced extended far beyond professional criticism. For decades, Marie carried another secret, one far more painful than public scrutiny over her appearance. In 2001, she published her memoir, Behind the Smile. Within its pages, Marie disclosed publicly for the first time that she had experienced sexual abuse during her childhood. Her revelation surprised many readers because she had spent years maintaining an image of unwavering optimism. Marie explained that the abuse had not been committed by members of her immediate family. She has consistently stated that her parents and brothers were not responsible. Instead, she described being abused by individuals outside her immediate family, whom adults trusted. Like many survivors of childhood abuse, Marie said she remained silent for years. She described feeling frightened, confused, and manipulated into believing that speaking about what had happened would only create greater harm. Those fears prevented her from sharing the truth throughout much of her youth. In later interviews, Marie explained that silence is one of the greatest burdens many survivors carry. Children often blame themselves for circumstances completely beyond their control. Feelings of shame, fear, and confusion can continue long into adulthood, even after the abuse has ended. Her decision to tell her story publicly was not easy. Rather than focusing on the identities of those responsible, Marie chose to emphasize healing. She spoke about the emotional consequences of childhood trauma and the lengthy process of rebuilding trust. She acknowledged that recovering from abuse was not something accomplished overnight, but instead required years of personal growth, reflection, and support. In interviews discussing her memoir, Marie explained that writing honestly about her experiences became an important step in reclaiming her own voice. She hoped that by sharing her story, other survivors might realize they were not alone. That message has remained consistent throughout her public discussions. Rather than allowing the abuse to define her entire life, Marie has repeatedly emphasized that healing is possible. She has encouraged survivors to seek help, speak with trusted individuals, and understand that responsibility always belongs to the abuser, not the child. Her openness also challenged long-standing misconceptions surrounding abuse. Many people imagine such experiences occurring only under certain circumstances or within specific environments. Marie's story reminded audiences that abuse can occur even within families that appear loving, successful, and stable from the outside. As her career continued, Marie increasingly became known not only for her entertainment achievements, but also for her willingness to discuss difficult subjects with honesty and compassion. Still, the emotional wounds left by childhood trauma would intersect with other painful chapters later in her life. Professional success could not shield her from personal heartbreak, mental health struggles, or unimaginable family tragedy.
Those experiences would ultimately shape the woman Marie Osmond would become, a performer admired not simply for her talent, but for her resilience.
Part 2.
Marie Osmond's willingness to speak honestly about difficult experiences gradually changed the way many people viewed her. For years, audiences had known her primarily as a singer and television personality whose cheerful demeanor rarely seemed to fade. But as she became more open about her personal struggles, people began to understand that her optimism had not come from an easy life. Instead, it had been built through years of confronting hardship and choosing, repeatedly, to keep moving forward. One of the most significant challenges Marie has discussed publicly is depression. She has explained that mental health struggles can affect anyone, regardless of career success, financial stability, or public recognition. Even while appearing confident on television, she has said there were periods when she privately battled overwhelming sadness and emotional exhaustion. Marie has been especially candid about experiencing postpartum depression following the birth of one of her children. At the time, awareness of postpartum depression was far more limited than it is today. Many mothers felt pressured to appear happy after childbirth, even when they were experiencing serious emotional distress. Marie later described feeling frightened because she did not understand why she suddenly felt disconnected, exhausted, and unable to recognize herself emotionally. She has recalled moments when everyday tasks felt almost impossible. Rather than feeling joyful, she experienced intense sadness and confusion. Eventually, she sought medical help and learned that postpartum depression is a legitimate medical condition rather than a personal weakness. By discussing her experience publicly, Marie helped reduce the stigma surrounding maternal mental health. Many women later shared that hearing someone as well-known as Marie Osmond describe postpartum depression made them realize they were not alone. Her openness reflected a recurring theme throughout her life. Whenever she spoke about painful experiences, her goal was rarely to generate headlines. Instead, she consistently tried to reassure others facing similar struggles that healing was possible and that asking for help should never be viewed as a sign of failure. While navigating these personal challenges, Marie continued building an impressive entertainment career. She expanded beyond singing into acting, Broadway productions, book publishing, public speaking, and television hosting. Few entertainers have successfully remained relevant across as many decades and media formats. Her partnership with her brother Donny also remained one of the most recognizable sibling collaborations in American entertainment. Although both pursued independent careers, audiences continued to enjoy seeing them perform together. In 2008, Donny and Marie began a residency at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. Originally intended as a relatively short engagement, the show proved so popular that it continued for more than 11 years. Night after night, audiences filled the theater to watch the siblings revisit classic songs while sharing stories about their family and careers. The production celebrated both nostalgia and longevity, demonstrating that their appeal extended far beyond the television audiences of the 1970s. Marie later reflected on the residency with gratitude, describing it as one of the most rewarding chapters of her professional life. Performing alongside Donny allowed them to reconnect with longtime fans while introducing their music to younger generations. Behind the scenes, however, life continued presenting unexpected challenges.